Welcome back to another episode of All Things Everything presented by Gulf Coast Smoke. My name is Alonzo.
And I'm Sabrina.
And this is episode 30. And it's been a few weeks since we've had an episode. Or has it only been a week?
Technically a week without a podcast.
Yeah, but it feels like it's been a long time.
But it's been it'll have been pretty much 2 weeks since it's
aired.
Right.
Yeah, and it just feels like it's been a long time since we've actually done a podcast. Because I think we did that one early in the week on like a Monday.
Yeah, I believe so.
So it's been a while. It's been a while since we've been here. It feels good to be back. How's everything been? I know how you've been, but just in case anybody else is curious, how have you been?
Yeah, things have been pretty good. We've been busy, even though it might not seem like it since we haven't been putting out a podcast every single week. But we have been busy. Which we just talked about off air, but one of our cameras is actually broken. So we've got our secondary camera up here. Yeah,
we're going to have to buy another one. But we're going to, what we're going to do is we're going to look at, a much nicer one than the one that currently is on me right now. So I'm kind of thinking maybe a Sony A7 Mark IV or Mark III, just depending. But I think it's time. It's been time to get another one. You know what I mean? I don't think we necessarily oh my gosh, now we need to. But before, I don't think we necessarily needed to. I think the content was really good. I think the quality was really good. But now that we're going to need another camera because we like to run at least 3 at a time, I definitely think we go bigger and better for sure. So maybe A7 Mark IV. That's kind of what I want. So hopefully we'll get that here pretty soon. It's going to take a little bit of learning for you, I'm sure. But if we get another Sony, it's kind of the same layout. So maybe it won't be too difficult for you. And then we'll be putting out some more quality content, which speaking of content, we have been continuously putting out the videos. We recently put out a video on the brand new Weber Searwood XL, which is, believe it or not, I'm going to say it, my favorite pellet grill that I've ever owned and cooked on. So we used to have, you know what, we're not going to get into brands because that's not what we're here to do. But we have had different brands before, and you never liked any of them. I never really cared for any of them either. This one is different. And again, I'm going to put it out there. Weber did send us this grill for free. I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't, but they told me that I could say anything I wanted about this grill, and this is what I want to say. Easily the best pellet grill I've ever used. We can literally sit there, crank it up to 700 degrees, or I think it says 600 on the dial, but we got it up to 700 almost?
Yeah, it was past it was 650 at least.
And you are getting actual flare-ups on this thing because there's flavorizer bars rather than one of those little grease trays that blocks all the grease from hitting the bottom. This actually allows for flare-ups. And it just gives you that nice actual wood grilled flavor. And we've done low and slow ribs on it. We've done a lot of stuff already. And everything has turned out really, really good. I don't feel like I get that pellet grill flavor, which is something that you really didn't like.
Yeah.
And so we did put out a video on that. You guys can go watch that. And then also recently, we put out a video on the brand new 36-inch slate griddle. What did you think about that griddle from just initial thoughts?
So first of all, for the Searwood as well as the slate, one of the things I really like about Weber is the aesthetics. They're both really, really nice looking, pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
I love the color schemes, like the black, the red, and the silver. They look just really, really nice. I love that Weber always offers covers for these things. We've had problems in the past with griddles where if we don't have a cover for it, they get rusted real easily. Yeah. And so that's also another aspect of this slate griddle is that it's supposed to be rust resistant. So I'm really excited to see if it actually is rust resistant, how it holds up.
Yeah.
But upon first looks, it just looks really nice. Now the slate comes with so many accessories and attachments that I think are really cool. They put so much thought into this. When it comes to cooking on a griddle, you do kind of need some sort of caddy to hold all of your stuff. You need counter space. You need a place to set things. You need to put paper towels. You need trash cans. I don't know how many times we've cooked on a griddle where we're cracking eggs and it's like, shoot, where do I put this? Let me just put it in this bowl.
They thought it all through.
Yeah.
They really, truly did. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. The pieces of equipment are great. Now, I wanted to kind of interrupt you because I didn't want to forget about this thought before we moved on. And that's because we did get a comment on our YouTube video and some guy was like, man, I'm really torn. He wanted a Blackstone, but this new rust-resistant feature is really intriguing to him. Mm-hmm. He's not really sure. Is it truly, truly rust-resistant? And this is what I said to him in the response on the comment. I said, hey, look, we've only cooked on this one time. I understand what you're saying. I will tell you this, and I mean this 100%. This griddle top feels different from any other griddle top I have ever used. It feels different. I can tell you that it is different just by the feel. Now, can I promise you 100%, 0% rust? I can't. Not yet. But I could tell you that the griddle feels different. The top feels different. So I'm very hopeful for sure. And I just wanted to bring that up before we moved on because I know people are going to bring that up. Hey, is it really rust resistant? Well, I can't tell you yet, right? I could tell you what I feel so far about it. I'm really in love with the griddle. I'm excited to cook with it. The griddle top feels different. So I am very, I'm hopeful that it truly is rust resistant. So anyway, that's why I kind of wanted to cut you off there because I had that thought in my head and I didn't want to forget it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and even our 30-inch Weber griddle, it had been a while since we'd used it, and we opened it up, and
it was fine.
It was fine.
But we seasoned it really well, and I try to take care of it.
Right.
So after every cook, of course, and even with this one, I did the same thing the other day. Cleaned it up real good, threw some oil on it, put the cover over top, and that's, again, where just the covers alone, it's going to help you out.
Yeah, because we've had other brand griddles where they don't come with the like even the hard top, the hard top that came with the 30-inch Weber is still a good quality. Because what happens is, yes, those covers are waterproof, but I mean, wear and tear happens, and sometimes that water seeps through. It pools, especially if you don't have that hard cover. So it pools right there on the top of the griddle, and you just get moisture inside, outside, stuff leaking through, and
mold,
it just rusts.
Yeah. And I was going to bring up that same exact point. How many times literally did it rain for a couple of days in a row, and then we would go outside, and there was just a pool of water sitting on our griddle.
All the time,
and we'd pop it off, and it was already rusting, and it was already molding just because it's so humid down here.
Yeah.
It just happens really, really quickly. We live in South Texas. It is what it is. But having that hard cover 100% does make a difference. And even if you go with the older style griddle, we have had zero problems with it, and we absolutely love that thing. So just wanted to bring up that we have been putting out content. We've been wanting to put out different types of content here recently, but we have been, going through some personal stuff. So just want to bring it up real quick, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. I did lose a childhood friend on Monday, May 13th. Unfortunately passed away in his sleep. Tragic. I mean, there's no other way to put it. But it's definitely put things into perspective. And we've talked about it before. Losing people should not be the reason why we start thinking differently in life. Unfortunately, it does happen a lot of the times that way. But we're looking to make some changes. I'm looking to make some changes. And I'm really, really, really hoping I can stick with it. I want to start. I mean, I've already started to eat better and trying to make more conscious decisions about what I'm eating. I want to lose some weight, and I even took some pictures yesterday when I was trying on some clothes that didn't fit me very well, and I said, "Don't worry, give me a month." And I'm really determined to go back and buy that shirt because that was a really cool shirt. It wasn't too tight, but it was tight enough to where you could see my gut, and I felt uncomfortable. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get that shirt. It's an absolute goal. So yeah, I mean, this moment that happened where we lost Richie. His name was Richie De La Garza. Just one of my childhood friends. Grew up with him. Played baseball with him. I had a lot of great memories. Sleepovers. Richie was the spitball king. I mean, I remember when we were in the ninth grade, dude. Oh my gosh. I remember when we were in the ninth grade. Richie would he was like way into spitballs. Did I ever tell you this?
Mm-mm.
Like way into spit. Like he was a menace. But like he would chew up like a whole piece of paper and like chew on it for like a long time. And when that spitball would hit, it would just like disintegrate into, dude, it was disgusting. But he would throw it at the TV and it would just go all over the TV and everywhere. And I remember he would do it in one of our classes, and it's not, I mean, it is funny, but it's not funny. But I mean, that's just who Richie was, you know. Richie was a jokester, man. He was funny. He was crazy, sometimes a little bit overboard, but I mean, we loved him no matter what. And you know, I got to hang out with a lot of my friends over the past week and a half, and while we wish it was under better circumstances, it's definitely been really, really nice to see them. Like I saw Hector for first time in a while, and Hector's one of those guys also that we grew up with, played baseball with. There was a time when we were in 7th, 8th grade, maybe. Hector and I were on the same baseball team, and either he was catching and I was pitching, or I was pitching and he was catching. Like, you know, or wait, I just said it the same way both times. Either he was playing catcher or pitcher, and then I was the opposite, like every game. And we were good, man. And it just, it makes you think about all the good times. It's really, really cool to think back on those memories when we were little kids. But my friends and I have talked a lot recently, and we're going to make it a conscious effort to continuously hang out with each other. Like we rented out the Joe Burke Pavilion for his benefit, and that thing cost, okay, so remember I told you it was $200? Well, they give you $100 back when you give them the key back for the barbecue pit. So it's really only $100.
Mm-hmm.
And we had it for the whole day. And it's a huge, huge, huge pavilion. $100 once a month. If we can get a lot of our friends together and just hang out and do stuff, man, like we need to do it. So we're going to make conscious efforts to spend more time with each other. And a lot of us, you know, have talked about, you know, making healthier decisions and doing a lot of different things. So, we had that barbecue benefit, which was crazy. I mean, you weren't going to be there, but I'm really, really glad you were, because it did get really wild right at 12. I don't even know how many people in a row we just served. It was crazy. And we ended up, we shut it down at 3. People showed up after 3. We didn't even have the food anymore. We're like, well, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't know. We shut down at 3. Had to refund a few people. It was just wild. So it did bring me to really, really appreciate people that run restaurants a lot more, because that was hard. But it was a fun hard. You know, it was a really, really fun hard. So, yeah, spent a lot of good time with friends and family recently. Like I said, we all lost Richie. It was horrible. It still is horrible. Probably for like a week, maybe a week and a half, maybe a little bit less than a week. I don't know. I was definitely feeling like I was in a weird funk. It just, when somebody's 34 years old, you feel like they're not supposed to go. You know, and it's one of those things. Like I said, we've, you know, I'm 34, you're 32, and
Am I?
you're 32, I think, or 31.
I will be, I think.
Okay, so you're 31. Yes, I don't know. I'm 34, you're 31, and unfortunately, we've both lost people in our lives already. You've lost people a lot younger than me, and it sometimes doesn't even make sense. It's like, man, this is just not supposed to happen. And I don't necessarily think it's a matter of supposed to happen or not supposed to happen. I think that's just unfortunately the way things happen sometimes. You know, it's like in my head, I'm like, man, 34 years old, not supposed to happen. Well, I mean, you've lost people younger than that. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's really, really hard to say that when it's like, well, you know, a lot of people have passed younger.
I mean, ideally, we'd all grow old.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. It's just not the way it happens. So, rest in peace, Richie. We don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but do love you, and I will miss you forever. And, man, I'll never forget can ball in the front yard. I'll never forget you making me hit that hornet's nest with a broom and all those things messing me up, and you cracking up about it. I'll never forget you would cut my dad's rent houses. My dad would give you $20. We'd go to Peter Piper, and we'd mess it up. You'd play games. We did a lot of dumb things, man. We cruised on bikes around the whole town here whenever we were younger. Man, I would go from my house to Richie's house all the way over there, and we'd come back 2, 3 in the morning. We're, out and about. Never really doing anything bad, to be honest. But I mean, still, younger kids should not be out at 3 in the morning on bikes. UT baseball camp, I'll never forget it. I mean, we just had a lot of really, really good times. So, again, rest in peace, Richie. Moving forward, obviously, we're going to try and get back on the recipe grind. And, of course, we're going to still be doing competitions as much as we can. It's been a couple of weeks already that we've done competitions, but we do have a few to talk about. So let's go ahead and start with, do you want to start with Buck Days or you want to start with Georgia?
Let's start with Buck Days.
Okay. So I guess I'll continue talking about that one because you actually didn't come to that one.
Right.
So Buck Days is a local barbecue competition in Corpus Christi.
It's like a whole big event.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, great to bring that up. So it's not just a barbecue competition. It's like a huge carnival. There's vendors. There's a lot going on. It's a really, really cool thing, and it's actually kind of a big deal in Corpus, I would say, huh?
It is, yeah. I remember that even when I was in high school.
Yeah, and so we felt really, really excited to be able to go compete in there. And Chris with the Beachcomers actually reached out to Andrew, who owns Full Send Barbecue, and Andrew has been cooking that for the past, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years, I think. And Andrew has historically done very well. But now he has the restaurant that's going full swing, and man, he's just got a lot going on. He's tired. How many times have we driven by? And Andrew's like out there, he's making something already. And it's like, man, this dude's grinding. So shout out to Andrew. But we ended up getting called by Andrew, me, Roland, Zach. And he said, hey, I'm down to do Chef's Choice. Can you guys cook some of the meats? And let's just put this team together. We all cook barbecue. We all think we cook pretty good barbecue. Let's just kind of build like the Avengers and hopefully go out there and win. So that was obviously the goal, and we ended up having a really, really fun time. It was kind of weird only cooking one protein. They chose me to cook ribs, Raul to cook chicken, and Zach to cook brisket. So ended up having a pretty good day. So when all was said and done, Raul ended up with a second-place chicken. We ended up with a first-place rib, and Zach ended up with a second-place brisket for grand champion. And it was a really, really cool feeling to know that we came together, we had a plan, we executed, and we achieved our goal. So it was actually really, really cool to be able to sit back and think about it and be like, man, we actually did it. We thought about something. We had a couple of like team meetings and how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And it was just a lot of fun. So grand champions, thank you again to the Beachcomers for having us out. They were very excited to win that thing. And it was just a blast. So thanks to Andrew for asking us, and shout out to Raul and Zach. They did their thing. We did our thing, and funny story though about the rib call. So if you guys compete in IBCA, you know that there's a ticket, right, and it has a number on it. So that's the same exact way that this was set up. So we had what would have been 4 tickets, right? Because it was Chef's Choice, rib, chicken, brisket. Yeah, there was 4 tickets. Okay. So Chris, who he runs the Beachcomers, he had all the tickets because he's basically the one in charge. So he had 4 tickets. On one of the tickets, he wrote down Chef's Choice, right? So he's thinking that's the Chef's Choice ticket. Well, they did Chef's Choice first. We unfortunately didn't get anything for Chef's Choice. So what he did was he crumbled that ticket up, put it in his pocket. Went and did second place chicken. Boom, cool. Ribs is up next. They call 5 through 1. And everyone in the group was like, they were like, there's no way you didn't win ribs. Those were so fire. I've never had ribs that good, whatever. So I'm like, hey, guys, you guys don't get ahead of yourselves. That's not how this works. I've had a lot of competitions. We'll talk about one in a little bit where you feel really confident and it just doesn't happen. Don't get ahead of yourselves. And everyone's like, no, F that. Those ribs were fire. I loved them. So anyway, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. And once they called 2nd and it wasn't our number, everyone turned to me and they're like, I effing told you, let's go, baby. Like it was, and again, I'm like, dude, relax. We have no idea if we won first place. Like we have no idea. Just relax for a second. And they're like, no, hell no. We just did this thing. You did this thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. So they call the first place rib ticket. And it ends in like 9-3. And we don't have the 9-3 ticket. And everyone just like, our camp went from like really crunk to like, like crickets. Like, oh my gosh. But no one went up and claimed first place rib. So they're like, blah, 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 9-3. And again, no one gets up to go. So everyone's like, what is happening? Like, what's happening? So mind you, don't forget, Chris thought that one of the tickets was for Chef's Choice. He crumbled it, put it in his pocket. Okay. So literally like 2 or 3 minutes goes by. And the guy that's like doing the commentary, he's like, somebody really needs to come and claim these ribs. They were really delicious. You know, like this is so the thing with this was we didn't win any money. It was all scholarship based. But to win like a first place rib, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a $10,000 scholarship thing. Like it was big. It was pretty big. So the guy even said, he's like, this is a $10,000 rib. Like somebody needs to come claim it. And then thankfully he saw him crumble it and put it in his pocket. He's like, hey, check your other ticket, dude. And he's like, no, that was for Chef's Choice. He's like, no, check your other ticket. He's like, dude, that was for Chef's Choice. He's like, bro, check it. Check the ticket. This has happened. Like we've all competed so much. This has happened before. Check the other ticket. He pulls it out. Blah 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 blah. 9-3. So we're like, oh my gosh! Like, and then he's like, dude, I am so sorry because I think that they could tell. Like I was low key devastated because in my head I'm thinking, okay, Raul just got a second place. I didn't get a call. Zach, I know is gonna get a call. Like, I'm going to be the reason why we didn't win this thing, and I'm, like, low-key devastated. And then I felt even worse because everybody around me was so confident in me, in the ribs, and then, like, to hear nothing, it was horrible. So I was like, ooh, like, when the number was not ours, I literally was like, oh, my gosh. Like, in my head, I was like, dude, I just wanted to crawl into a ball. And then we had the 9-3 ticket, and everyone, like, was like, wait. He's like, we got it. And we're like, let's go. And everyone comes up to me and they're like, I told you, there's no way. So it was a really weird,
right.
roller coaster of emotions. So we ended up getting the first place rib, and then Zach got a second place brisket, and we got the grand champion. And it was just crazy. It was crazy, but it was a lot of fun. And thank you again to Andrew and Chris for having us out. I mean, I would do it again next year. Just let us know. Reach out. But anyway, so...
well, let's talk about those ribs, because you sent me a picture. I was at home, and you sent me a picture, and I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it was raining.
Mm-hmm.
And... yeah. I don't remember what you told me, but I was like, oh, I knew.
So, first off, let's start with the morning.
Oh, no, that's why I knew. Okay, yeah, go for it.
Let's start with the very, very... So, Raul, I told him, hey, be at my house at 5:50. 5:30. We need to go. I need to be there by 6, lighting up the pit, boom, 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 whatever. I didn't wake up until 6:50.
Yeah.
Like, so I had like 6 missed calls from Raul, text messages, everything. I literally get on the phone. The first thing I say is like, holy, what? And he's like, bro, he told me, he's like, dude, I was about to call the cops. I was scared. He's like, I didn't want to knock on your door and like scare your family, but I was getting worried, bro. And I was like, dude, I'll be 3 minutes. I brush my teeth, mouthwash, clothes, that's it. I'm out. Boom. And he's like, bro, what happened? I'm like, dude, I don't even know, bro. Like, I just accidentally overslept. So, what happened actually was I had the alarm set for PM instead of AM.
Mm.
So I'm sure that's happened to everybody at least once, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the morning started off rowdy. Then we get there, light up the pits. It's raining. I texted you. I said, it's pouring ass rain out here. You know what that means, ... And you texted back and you're like, first place rib. And I didn't even respond, right? Because like, that's exactly what I was telling you. But I just didn't, I wasn't trying to be like, yeah, for sure. I just knew it. I felt it. And I was taking pictures of the ribs and like sending them to you. as the cook was going on, and you were just like, dude, those look good. Those look good.
Normally when we're competing and we slice our ribs,
yeah.
We're trying some from here and there. So sometimes we only end up with 2 racks that we're using. Sometimes we might have 3 racks, but there's only 4 from one rack, and then maybe 4, 5, and 5, whatever. And every single rack you had on there, and they all looked so good.
Yeah. So if I send you the picture, we'll put it right here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like literally, I was just cutting off like 2 on the each end, right. And then the rest of the rack was just like, dude, it was like this much ribs, just in a line, perfect, fat, thick, juicy, like perfect looking ribs. And I was like, oh my gosh, like these look fire today. And they tasted great. They really did. They really, truly did. Everybody that tried them really liked them, which I was very excited for, because everybody that tried them, they compete. Well, not everybody, but, everybody that, like Andrew, Zach, Raul, even Zach's wife, they know competition barbecue. And they're like, dude, those are fire. So I felt really confident going forward that, hey, we got a shot here. But yeah, I mean, just for some strange reason, it feels like when it rains, we do well.
Well, and I told you when you came home, you're like, see, I told you with the rain. And I was like, dude, I knew you were going to win because you freaking got up late. Because what happens, and a lot of barbecue people or anyone who competes, you have that like superstitious side of you, right? And a lot of the times when things are going wrong, it's like, something good's going to happen later.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure. It was a funny day, a fun day, man. Like I said, really, really happy that we got the opportunity to go out there and compete and spend some time with the guys. So that was just a lot of fun. I even picked up a few new rib tricks myself because I had to cook without you. I didn't have to, but it was just one of those events where I'm like, man, only cooking one meat. Everyone's going by themselves. Like, I'm going to do the same. And it was different being without you because I do rely on you to do things. But it was also really, really cool because I'm like, okay, no big deal. Sabrina's not here. I'm going to do it like this, this, and this now. So I had a little bit of a different plan of attack on these ribs, and I changed my technique up a little bit, and I shared that technique change with you, and we implemented it into our cook now. So it's really, really, it's kind of cool being able to go out there, find a change, really feel confident about it, share it with you, and then we change it like that.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
But I think it's really, for a team like ours where you're the one that's cooking every single protein, and then I just help when I can, it's really advantageous for you to go out there and just concentrate on one meat. And I think it does give you, because as a cook, if you don't need to make any changes on the taste, the only way you can really improve your product is by, taking a look at your techniques, right? Like, is there any of my techniques that can be updated to make things run smoother or to just create a better product? Because a lot of the times it's the technique that matters more than your flavor, because flavor is just so subjective, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really advantageous for you to be able to go out there and just concentrate solely on one meat. And then, like you said, you kind of found some new ways of doing things that we can implement as a team.
Yeah. And, believe it or not, just cooking that rib on my own gave me a few ideas on pork too. So we actually, I'm not going to talk about them, but we did make some pork changes that I really do think helped overall with what we were doing.
Right.
And so we'll talk about pork here in a second. Actually, we can just move right into it. So we ended up going to Jordanton, which was, I guess, the weekend after?
I believe so, yeah.
Or it was for sure after Buck Days, but we ended up going to Jordanton, which is a CBA competition for meat. And how did we do?
Okay, so let's talk first about our chicken, because chicken is our weakest link, like most people, right?
Yeah.
So chicken, we went out there with some new techniques as well, thanks to Kevin.
Yeah.
My pits are burning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember tasting that chicken, and I was thrilled with it. I thought it was great. I thought it was one of the best chickens we had. I thought texture was good. I thought flavor was good. And that's because we've practiced chickens at home quite frequently.
Yeah.
And we've had somewhere it's like, oh man, that texture is perfect. And then we practice it again and it's like, the taste was kind of off, right?
Yeah.
So to go out there and, I mean, I was happy with it. I don't think there's anything we could have changed that would have made it better. I thought it was a really, really good, strong bird.
Yeah.
And going to awards, right, when that's the first call of the day. And a lot of the times chicken is what keeps us from getting a GC. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And so we hear our name get called for chicken. We got an 8th place chicken, and that kind of set the tone for me. I'm like, okay, well, this should be a really good event for us because we got that chicken call. Everything else should be good from here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I did feel really strongly about the chicken. I thought that the texture, more than anything, the texture was just absolutely on point. I felt like the chicken was really, really nice and soft, had a great bite to it. Flavor, of course, I did think was stellar as well, but I was more like, wow, that texture is perfect. So, to hear 8th place chicken at that point, I'm definitely thinking, okay, it's on. Just historically, we've done pretty good in the other proteins. Pork is kind of like, meh. We've gotten 1st place perfect score pork. We've also got 25th pork, right? So It's not as consistent, but I do feel overall pretty confident with pork. Like I said, we changed a few things going into this one. There was a couple of decisions that you and I had conversations about. And I said, hey, look, this is what I'm going to do. Let's just see what happens. And in the end, I mean, I think we both agree, like, hey, that was a good decision. And we both felt strongly about our sides of it, right? But ultimately, the great thing about it is you give me the freedom to, like, make the final choice. And also, it's kind of like it's a nervous feeling because it's like, oh, gosh, like if I am making the choice and you're letting me make the choice, right? If we get bad scores on taste or texture and I made that decision, it's like, damn, like I should have listened. But that's not really why we do this.
Well,
right?
Just a little side note. I know a lot of people like to chime in with Sabrina could have her own team or she could cook all this stuff. No, you are the head cook. That's just how it is. And you're the head cook for a reason.
Yeah.
You're very confident in the proteins, right? I'm just very confident in helping wherever I can.
No, I mean, I definitely, I mean, I don't think you should discredit yourself. I think you could cook.
No, right? I'm not saying I couldn't, but there is a reason why you are the head cook.
Yeah.
Barbecue is a much different type of cooking than the cooking that I'm used to.
Yeah.
I could learn it. Yeah, sure. But I'm happy with what I'm doing. I enjoy being a team with you. I enjoy helping.
Yeah.
So, that's what I like out of competing, right?
Yeah.
So you are the head cook. So at the end of the day, it is your decision, and I don't have a problem with that. But I do try to help and give my opinion if I think it's needed.
Yeah.
See what you think from that. But
but I mean,
and it's your decision.
That's also the good thing about it, right? Like we were having conversations about it. And I mean, just straight up, it was the tenderness, right? It was the tenderness on the pork, and you were like, that needs to go more. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And you're like, man, I really think it can go more. I said, look, no disrespect. I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to pull it here. And I said, I'm pretty confident that this is the right decision. And you were like, cool, no big deal. Didn't turn into anything. There was no argument. There was no like, well, you don't listen to me. No, it was nothing.
Knuckle sandwiches.
Yeah, there was nothing. It was just like, okay, if that's your decision, that's your decision. Yeah. But at that point also, again, I have to look at myself in the mirror if it goes bad, right? And say like, all right, well, next time, don't be so closed-minded. And I wasn't trying to be closed-minded. There was a specific situation that made me feel that way about the pork, right? And we've had that discussion. We're not going to have that discussion here, but there's a reason why I made that decision. Yeah. And I do think, obviously it was the right decision. The pork that day was really, really stellar.
Yeah.
But before we move on to the pork, what about our ribs? How did our ribs do? Because we start off with an 8th place chicken, and we're both feeling pretty good because ribs, now we're getting to one of our stronger cooks.
Yeah, for sure. And ribs are, I've got to say, one of, or our most consistent protein.
Yep.
And so especially coming off of buck days and having that strong rib call for you and then coming back with some techniques you wanted to implement, ribs were really good. They're pretty much as good as they've always been.
Yeah.
And even last year, around the summer, we had some really high rib calls, and then we fell off, and then it's like, man, what are we doing? But we've always stuck to our ribs when it comes to our flavor profile. And
I don't think we've changed our rib recipe in a year and a half.
We have not. But yeah, tweaking those little techniques, I think, are very, very helpful. And so we walked away with a 4th place rib.
Yeah.
And I think one of the...
Well, I'm kind of lying about the recipe thing because we've changed little things here and there.
Not the main recipe. We've added to it, we've enhanced it, but we have not changed anything.
So yeah, before anybody fact checks me on that, we've definitely changed the recipe many times. But like you said, the base of it's pretty much the same, but we make enhancements to it. We use some of our new products. We use some different products like Trifecta. We're using it to inject in into our ribs now. If you guys pay really close attention to the competition videos, you'll probably see it. Maybe not, but we're using Trifecta to inject now, which we do truly believe has made a huge difference in the flavor of our ribs. We feel like it gives it a nice salt. We're using it to inject our chicken. We're using it to brine our chicken. We're using it on our brisket. That seasoning is just, I mean, it's just made a world of difference for us recently. But this is not an ad. I just wanted to bring that up just in case anybody fact checks me. Right. We definitely have made some changes to the
No, for sure. I mean, anytime we are making or developing a new product, we want
use it at comp,
we want to implement it because, I mean, who's going to want to buy it if it's not
for sure
worth using?
No,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
So
yeah, we battle test it for sure.
Yeah.
And even like Trifecta, right? Like Raul uses it. Shout out to Raul. He got an RGC at this event. Rini uses it. He had a bunch of first place chickens with it and a couple of GCs using it as well. Zach uses it. He had a back-to-back GC. Shout out to Zach. He won El Campo and then Pearland. Shout out to Leroy Barrera. He won in Rockport and then I don't remember, but we'll put it up on the screen. And all these guys are using Trifecta, right? We're using Trifecta. We've hit 2 back-to-back first place briskets. We've hit a first place perfect score pork with it. Just we've been using it for a while. We've put it through everything. So when we're making changes to our recipes, you better believe we're probably trying to develop new products. Not every single product we ever make is going to be competition worthy or for competition. I think we're probably pretty close-ish to being done with competition-based products for now. We want to focus on some other things, which you guys will hear more about soon. But, yeah, either way. So, ribs were really good. What did we end up placing?
Yeah. So, and little side note here, just for anybody listening, none of our seasonings are only designed for backyard or only designed for competition. I mean, initially our seasonings were for the backyard cook, but with competition quality in mind. So yeah, anyone listening and thinking Trifecta is just a competition product, it is not. My dad uses that stuff religiously.
Yes, I mean, so do we.
Yeah,
we use it on fajitas at the house. We use it on eggs. We use it on I'm telling you, it's horrible, right? Because every seasoning we've ever made, we're like, oh my gosh, can't be any better. Then we make another. We're like, oh my gosh, sounds even better.
This one's it, yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, Trifecta, can use it on anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, just be on the lookout. Trifecta is actually coming really, really soon. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, so ribs, we walked away with a 4th place ribs. And the thing we love about CBA is the comments.
For sure.
And leave a comment down below, all the CBA people, the best or funniest, craziest comment you've ever gotten. And you go ahead and read that comment.
So we got Judge 4.
Shout out Judge 4.
Shout out Judge 4. Gave us a fat girl soft texture. And at first we're like, dude, is that good or bad? Like, we don't even know, right? So if you go to Judge 4 texture, he gave us a 10, or she gave us a 10. So that's obviously a perfect 10. So obviously Fat Girl Soft is really, really good. So thank you for that amazing comment. When we saw it, we were cracking up. We're like, oh my gosh, Fat Girl Soft. But so ribs did what they usually do. They placed for us. They don't always win, but they're pretty consistent. And don't get me twisted. We can definitely get something outside of the top 10. We can definitely bomb them one day. It happens. But we do feel pretty confident in our ribs. We're going to remain humble, and we know that anything could happen on any given day. Our ribs did us good that day. So moving on to the pork, which we did kind of talk about a little bit. And we did put out a video of this exact pork trim that we used in Jordanton, Texas. We trimmed it at the competition specifically so we could make this video. We ended up with a third place pork, which I think it was definitely a really, really good pork. Obviously, I don't think it was our best pork ever. I think the one that we made in Angleton was truly on another level that day. It was just so delicious that day. And I think this one was really close, though. This one was really close. I thought it was, I will say, when I saw the pork box and I saw what we were doing, I'm like, okay, I think this one's going to hit. And I felt really, really confident about it. Speaking of pork, I do want to give a quick shout out to Kevin. That day in Jordanton, this dude's pork was incredible. Incredible. Like, he got a fourth place pork. I do not think that means our pork was better than his. Man, his pork was like, I bit it and I was like, yeah, that's it. And I don't always get like that. So the cool thing about competition barbecue is like Raul, him and I are like super honest with each other. Super honest. Like, even if it's nitpicky, him and I are really, really honest with each other about our barbecue. Like, he'll tell me like, man, no, I don't like that chicken, or man, it's hard, or it's dry, or whatever. And it's one of those things where you don't get mad about it, man. Like, Raul's a buddy now. You know, he's a friend. You're trying to help each other get better. So we're brutally honest with each other. That day, Raul was like, bro, your chicken's banging. So that's when I actually knew, like, okay, we're on the right path. And all of Raul's food was good that day. And I told him, I said, hey, your flavor is immaculate. There was a few things that I do think he could have had a little bit better. Him and I have talked about it off camera, away from, podcasts and everything, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about. But again, shout out to Raul. He RGC'd the event, so he did really, really good. He got a 10th, and then a second brisket. So just consistent across the board, really, really consistent food. Shout out one more time to him. That was a really, really good day for him. But I did think the pork was really, really good that day. We can kind of tell when the kids will tear it up. They're like, all right, it's really good.
Yeah, especially son, because his favorite thing is ribs. So when he starts eating a lot of something else, like
it's good.
It's good.
And he was eating a lot of the chicken, and he was eating a lot of the pork.
Yeah,
he ate a lot of the brisket too. I mean, everything was really good that day. So again, I just kind of had a good feeling about the pork, so I felt strong. We ended up with a third place pork, so I'm like, okay, we're right there. We're right in it. At this point, I thought we were in second place overall, because Beer Belly Barbecue, Uwe Braun, incredible cook. This dude goes out there, wins jackpots, wins beans, wins desserts, GCs the event. But at that point, I think we were actually in second place right behind him, because he had some really, really high calls. Then we're moving on to brisket. And I'm thinking like, all right, go look at the past 7 or 8 events. Our brisket's been treating us pretty dang good. I feel confident that we're at least going to get inside of the top 10, and we're going to have a shot at RGC, because I still did think that Uwe was going to win. He's just a great cook. He had 3 great calls already, and I'm thinking he's going to get a call on brisket. So I do think he's still going to win, but I'm thinking, okay, we have a shot to RGC. If we get like a first or second place perfect score brisket, we have a chance. And I really, truly thought it was worthy. We have had lots of conversations after events about our brisket or our chicken or whatever. And in the moment, sometimes you think like, man, that was really, really good. And later you're like, maybe it wasn't, because I forgot to do this, or I forgot to do that, or I forgot to do this. And I mean, we had the conversation, man, the burnt ends were great. The slices were really, really good. Texture and everything was good. Kyle, the guy that was there with Kevin, remember, he actually came into the trailer, and we finished up a piece for him. He's like, damn, that's really good brisket. So, I mean, even he thought it was good. We all thought it was really good and confident, but man, unfortunately, brisket just didn't do it for us, and it let us down. We didn't hear our name top 10, but I'm thinking, okay, maybe 11th, 12th, we still got a shot at RGC. We ended up getting called 4th overall, and we ended up with a 185 on brisket, 17th place, which is just not good. I don't know if it's just that maybe they wanted, I don't know, maybe they didn't want burn ends that day. Maybe they wanted something a little bit different than we put in the box, but they didn't like it. It just, it is what it is. I'm not too sure. I'm not really sure where to go with it, because we only got one brisket comment, and it says so moist. That's all that it said. So yeah, it's tough.
Well, and here's the thing with brisket. What makes it so difficult is you have like two sides of the spectrum when it comes to brisket, right? You have, the dressed up competition, adding sauce, adding au jus,
Yeah.
burnt ends, which are, typically everybody's saucing their burnt ends. And then you have the backyard style, the people who are keeping it more traditional, who aren't really putting burnt ends. And so a lot of the times you don't really know what the judges are going to prefer.
Yeah.
You're going to have people in that judging room who are maybe going to prefer the backyard taste.
Yeah.
Or you could have people who prefer the competition style and the burn ends. If you go to a place where they typically don't eat burn ends,
they might not even know what it is.
They might not really even enjoy it.
Yeah.
No matter how good it is, it might just not be their thing. So brisket, I think that's one of the things that really does make it so difficult is you're trying to cater to two completely different groups of people. People who like traditional backyard barbecue, or people who are maybe familiar with the competition scene and they like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So and I believe that whoever got first place, they cooked more of like a backyard style brisket, right?
They did.
But I mean, with us, we're not going to ever change our style of brisket.
You got to live with these. So right. I mean, here's the way I look at it, right? And I'm not trying to be like that guy that just brings up old successes, but I mean, come on. We hit a first place at Carfest. We hit a first place at Arlington. You just have to take the good with the bad.
That's the whole point of competing. And Texas is so huge. You're going to have different regions, people who like different things. That's what makes it so challenging.
And I think that's a little bit of a skill, right? So a couple of days later, I told you Fred called me, Fred Robles, Rio Valley Meats, and he goes, "Hey, man, I was looking at CBA scores. What happened, dude?" Like, he's like, "Your brisket's usually good." I'm like, "Man, I really don't know, bro." Him and I had some conversations about brisket and about regions and about doing things specific ways. And I think it's one of those things. This is where notes are good. Jordanton did not like our brisket. I think it was a very good brisket. I'm being honest with myself. It was a very good brisket. It was tender. It was delicious. Maybe they're looking for something different. Maybe next time just pull the burnt ends out and see what happens. Right? I'm not saying that they hated the burnt ends, but maybe they freaked them out a little bit. I don't know. I won't know until we try it with no burnt ends next time. And then now we have notes. Okay, you scored a lot better when you had no burnt ends. All right, Jordanton may not like burnt ends. We're just gonna go no burnt ends in that area. Right. So again, it's just one of those things where it pays to take your notes, remember where you cooked, how you cooked, and all that good stuff. So. I think that's one of the coolest things about competition barbecue. But so those are the two events we've done since our last podcast. And, we're not competing this week. I have some things that I need to take care of. And we'll be back at it hopefully pretty soon. And then, hopefully we're not missing too many weekends. But we do want to kind of talk to you guys about recipes coming up and see if you guys are interested in seeing anything on the channel, because we do really want to start pushing recipes again. And I had a lot of fun cooking on my offset the other day, so I want to cook some offset ribs, some offset briskets, and kind of talk to you guys about why I do things the way I do them and how we're cooking and how we're trying to get really, really consistent results when it comes to barbecue. So more backyard style stuff here in our literal backyard. If you guys have anything that you want to see or that you're interested in learning, hopefully we can help you learn those things, and we can be putting out some good backyard content for the foreseeable future. Also, now that we have the pellet grill and a pellet grill that we really enjoy firing up, give us some ideas of what you want to see on the pellet grill as well.
Yeah, that thing came with some really cool attachments. It's got a rotisserie.
It's got a rotisserie,
which the Weber kettle also has a rotisserie attachment that you can buy.
Yeah.
And that one's pretty cool, but I think the one with the Searwood XL is the one that we have.
Yeah.
So it's very large. You can fit a lot of things on that rotisserie.
I guarantee we could probably put like 6 rotisserie chickens on that rotisserie stick.
Oh, for sure.
I guarantee it. It's big.
It is big.
So, man, just give us some ideas of what you guys want to see. We're definitely here to make content for you guys. I understand some of you guys like the competition stuff. probably more of you guys want to see the backyard stuff. It's, we'll do everything we can to continue making good content for you guys. Other than that, I mean, what did we have to talk about besides the competitions, besides things that have been happening in our personal life? What else have we got?
I think the last thing on our agenda actually was our pork trim.
Yeah.
So, which is a little competition related, but if for any of you out there that are having trouble with trimming money muscles specifically, so back in Jordanton we did that, as you mentioned, we did film a pork trim video while we were there.
Sure.
And it was really nice to walk away with a third place pork since we were putting out that video. And so
it's always, sorry to cut you off, it's always kind of nerve-wracking, right? Because you're like Darren, you're making a specific video on a specific trim, that pork you're going to use at a competition, and you're like, man, I really hope that this hits. But anyway, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, and so this is something we always say, at least I always say it for sure. The trim is such a vital part when it comes to competition, especially for brisket and for pork, because you're really trying the whole point of the trim, not only just to make it smaller, faster for cooking, but is to create a shape that you don't have to mess with too much, that you're going to make a shape, and that's going to be how it cooks. So your final product is going to look the way it is trimmed, right? Yeah. And so that's what you want with your brisket slices. You want that perfect dome. And the same thing with your money muscles. You want to try and make those a nice circular, round shape, and you want all of your money muscles to be around the same size. So obviously getting good pork is pretty important too.
For sure.
But the trim matters, and you made it look easy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be that guy, but I do think trimming pork is so easy. Like, I think it takes nothing at all. So one of the things that I do want to bring up first and foremost is we got that pork from Boari Craft Butchery in Corpus Christi, Texas. If you guys are local to Corpus Christi, hit them up and go over there. And not even just their pork, everything that they have is top notch. They carry our seasoning, so you guys can go pick them up locally. And shout out to Boari for always assisting us anytime we need them. Secondly, I will say, again, trimming pork to me is very simple. I think a lot of times, and I don't mean to say, oh, if you think it's hard, you're an idiot. No, I just think a lot of the times people just really, really, really overthink it. I don't think that it's as difficult as you're thinking. So imagine a square, right, or a rectangle maybe for your pork. I'm literally taking a knife and I'm going right down the middle pretty much. I'm going closer towards the money muscle, away from that bone, and I'm going straight down, okay? So now you have a little collar, okay? So you see the money muscle in there, but there is some extra fat, and there's everything that's, around it. And how many cuts did I take? 5?
Less than that.
I took very, very little cuts. Yeah. I don't think it takes much. My goal is to fillet the fat cap off of the side of the money muscle, right? That's number 1. I want to fillet that fat cap off because I don't want to cook it with a fat cap on. Me, personally. You guys do you. Then from there, I'm literally wanting to cut a square around that money muscle. So imagine money muscle is supposed to be a circle, right? I want it to be a square. And then I'm just taking my shears and those edges, I'm rounding them with shears. That's it. I don't care if there's a little bit of fat left over. I don't mind if there's a little bit of that silver skin or whatever. Man, number 1, that fat on the outside is going to render out, right? It's really, really soft. That silver skin, if I need to, I could chop it off in the middle of the cook. You've seen me do it how many times where I'll retrim it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't worry me at all. So I'm making a square, a fat square, and then I'm just shearing off the edges. And then I'll go to the ends of it, and I'll use my shears on those too to kind of round it out a little bit. I just don't think it's that difficult. And I hope that if you watch that video, which we'll put a link in the description, I hope if you watch that video, you think like, oh man, yeah, I have been kind of overthinking this. It's just not that big of a deal to trim the pork. And I feel like a lot of the times people will over trim. And that's where you get that separation in your pork a lot of the times, because there is fat that'll run between the tubes and the money muscle and everything like that. And if you over trim, you start separating that. See, for me personally, I mean, if you've seen me do it, when I'm trimming, I don't mind those tubes and everything being part of my money muscle. It's like a faux money muscle, right? It's not a real one, but I don't mind it. Now, the other thing that you'll see me do is you'll see me inject very, very slowly when it comes to pork, because I'm trying to make sure I don't hit those fat seams. When I'm hitting the fat seam, and let's just say I hit a fat seam and I pull my injector, it's actually expanding that fat. And now it's making it easier for that money muscle to separate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes for a less appealing look on it. So you just have to be really careful about what you're doing. It's not hard. You just have to have some patience, which is actually one of the greatest things that competition barbecue has taught me, because I don't really have patience. But it really has. It's got me to slow down. Hey, don't overthink it. It's just barbecue. Let's trim these monies up the right way, and that's it. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that video. If you guys want to see anything else specifically when it comes to competition as well, man, let us know. We're here to make content for you guys. We love making videos, right? Video making is fun for us. So the content itself, while it is important, we can kind of make whatever, right? We just like making the videos. So, yeah, but go check that video out. Go check out the video over the Weber Searwood XL, and then over the Weber 36-inch slate griddle. Both are incredible pieces of equipment, and we are so grateful to have partners like Weber, where, yes, they did send us these griddles and these pellet grills for free. So I do want you guys to know that, but we have never been asked to say anything specific. All of the opinions on these grills are mine and yours, and yeah, we're just really, really excited. And we got something really cool coming up this weekend that I'm not going to talk about right now. So you guys are going to see this on, what's today, Wednesday? So you guys will see this on the 31st, right? Yeah, so you guys will see this on the 31st. At that point, I'm actually already going to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing that day and Saturday. Got some really cool stuff going on that we will share in a video with you guys, but we're extremely excited. Unfortunately, I'm going alone, but you know, unfortunately, it's just how it had to happen this time. We did not want it to happen like this, but it just is what it is. So, got some cool stuff coming up. Be on the lookout for that. And anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, if Sabrina doesn't have anything else, I'm good too. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and subscribe. We're really, really, really close to 40,000. I don't even know if you know that, because I don't think you keep up with it the way I do. So as of right now, we have 39,551 subscribers. Nice. So we're less than 500 away from 40,000. Then we got 60,000, so we get that first YouTube plaque, which I want so badly.
Oh, you get it at 60,000?
No. Then we'll need 60,000 more, so at 100,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to get 100,000 in order to get our first YouTube plaque, which we're going to get. It's just a matter of time. So anyway, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you on the next episode, which will be next week.
Next week.
Peace.